Hello, my Metaverse friends, and welcome to another exciting episode of Metaverse Express Full Stop. I'm your host, Mona, and as always, we're here to bring you the hottest topics in the Metaverse with expert insights from our special guests. And speaking of our special guest, I am so excited to have my friend Elizabeth Olson on the show today. She is the head of growth at Xverse. If you don't know Xverse, it's a very user-friendly Bitcoin wallet solution, but I'm going to let her talk about that, not me. But she's also the host of her own podcast, Own Your Own Crypto, on Spotify. So be sure you're going to check her out there. Elizabeth, welcome to the show. I'm so excited to have you on.
Thanks, Mona. It's so great to be here and really great to see you since when we met at NFT NYC.
We did. We met at NFT NYC and it was so hectic. I was doing interviews and you had just got off the stage talking about Ordinals and I missed the conversation. Everyone was talking about you guys' conversation. I missed it. So thank you for giving us your one-on-one time and attention today to talk about a pretty exciting topic that a lot of people want to learn more about.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me here. It's really exciting to share this with your audience, and hello, everyone. Sure, I can introduce a little bit about myself.
Yeah.
I'm at Xverse, which is the leading Bitcoin wallet for Web3. And we say Web3 on Bitcoin, meaning things like DeFi, NFTs. That's right, DeFi and NFTs on Bitcoin. I'll get into how that's possible a bit later. Yeah. And as well as Ordinals. We also have dApps and soon instant payments with Lightning. So it's a very, very exciting time. You can kind of think of us like the MetaMask for Bitcoin. And like Mona said, it's a very smooth user experience, something that you'll be very familiar with on with wallets on other blockchains. So it's really easy to get started. We are available on iOS and Android, as well as a Chrome browser extension. And yeah, if you want to get started, you can just download the app from your phone or set it up on your computer.
Yeah, and we're going to get into some of the problems that Xverse is solving in the industry. But before we delve into all of the amazing topics we're going to cover today, I do want you to give a little bit of a background about you because you have a really impressive background. I've seen Sotheby's on your in your background. I mean, you really know your stuff. And that was one of the things that stood out to me at NFT NYC. So tell us a little bit about you and how did you get into this space?
Sure. So it's interesting. Before I was in this space, I didn't have direct experience, or I should say in this role, I didn't have direct experience with crypto. It was relatively new to me, but I did have some exposure from my previous roles in the luxury industry. So I was for a while at Steinway and Sons, and then went and got my MBA and started to dabble in kind of the entrepreneurship side of things and interested in startups. I also was for a time at Sotheby's auction house in New York. And that's kind of when I really saw crypto going corporate. And I just became so curious about everything that was going on. Some of the auctions I was working on included digital NFTs attached to physical items. And this was also around during the bull market when the market cap was hitting 2 trillion and Web3 was so fast. If we think on this, and I wanted to have a direct impact on shaping the future. So that's when a recruiter reached out and said, hey, have you ever considered working in the Web3 space? And I got introduced to my current boss at Xverse and was just really impressed and saw the need for what we're building out here. And also thought of it as a really great opportunity to get started in this space because a wallet, when you think about it, a wallet is, you kind of get a seat at the center of all the action, right? You get to work with NFTs and DeFi protocols and just meet everybody in the ecosystem in regards to partnerships. And it's a great opportunity to learn. So that's where I wanted to get started. And I'm definitely a Bitcoiner and believe in that blockchain and all the value it has to bring to society. And so that's where I wanted to get plugged in.
Yeah, and you do such a great job at it too. I know at NFT NYC, you guys were one of the few who were discussing ordinals on the main stage there. And that's really what I wanted to talk to you about, because it's a topic that I also wanted to learn more about as well. Because the first time I remember hearing about ordinals, I said, wait, what? You can anchor NFTs on the Bitcoin blockchain? How? And so, I mean, of course, I had to go research and find out more, but I'm glad you're here to kind of break it down for us, because my audience is very familiar with NFTs. They know that NFTs are unique digital assets in the form of whether it's artwork, music, virtual real estate, or whatever it is. And they know that NFTs are stored on a blockchain, right? And typically it being the Ethereum blockchain, as I thought. But now there's this concept of creating NFTs using the Bitcoin blockchain, which is like fascinating.
Yeah.
But I want you to explain that. But first, I want to ask you to take us back and talk to us about the significance of blockchain for storing NFTs and where and how it all started.
Yeah, sure. So just to break it down a bit, around the value of what NFTs provide to us now. Basically, it's unique data stored on blockchain technology, and it can be linked to digital and physical objects. And I think what excites me so much about this is that, one, it's immutable. So there you don't have this censorship. And when we think about use cases like this opens up so much opportunity here in regards to creating data that's secured and indestructible and will last forever. And so that's really huge when you think about things that can be stored on there in regards to humanity's history. We also have use cases like provenance, which is something that was really an interest also when I was working at Sotheby's, is thinking about how can we track the ownership of an item and the authenticity of it. Also preservation of things like art, and in that sense itself also provides store value. Additional store value on the blockchain is having art anchored there. And of course, the overall proof of ownership is quite interesting as well.
Yeah. No, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to mention that it's interesting because Bitcoin NFTs actually did exist before ordinals.
I heard that. I actually recently learned that NFTs were actually anchored on Bitcoin before Ethereum. I had no idea.
Yeah, so one of the first Bitcoin NFTs to be made was in 2016. I mean, there's a lot of debate over actually what is the first Bitcoin NFT, and some people even will say, oh, the first Satoshi is an NFT. Like some people will argue on that, but officially the first one in by most records is Rare Pepe, which was inscribed in 2016.
What?
Yeah.
Pepe?
Yeah, Rare Pepe. And that was so that's pretty interesting to see. You've probably seen a lot of memes out there, and so that's why Rare Pepe is so famous. But Bitcoin at the time really and still doesn't have the smart contract capabilities to host NFTs. So that's why so much of the NFT development headed over, all the talent went to Ethereum. And so unfortunately, Bitcoin ecosystem kind of lost a lot of that. And but then there was a lot of other potential solutions that people were looking into, like layers. I don't know if we want to dive into layers too much, but before
I try not to get too technical, but I mean, this is great because I clearly understand this. I also was going to ask you where Bitcoin didn't have smart contracts, and that's really why everyone went to Ethereum. So what changed?
Yeah, so two things changed. And I do think it's helpful to understand layers because that's going to be so much of the future of ordinals as well. So when we say layers, we're referring to mainly three different layers at the moment. So layer one is the base layer, the base blockchain architecture, which is Bitcoin itself. And then on top of that, you can start to have protocols that will really help enable abilities on the layer 3, which are apps and DeFi and NFTs and all this kind of stuff. So it's really thanks to Bitcoin layers that we can start to scale and find these other solutions. And so I promise I'm getting back to this, but basically this also enabled another kind of NFT on Bitcoin, which is layer Bitcoin NFTs. So you have stacks Bitcoin NFTs, which are still not making any changes to Bitcoin and anchored with the Bitcoin block. But because it's a layer, there's still a lot of controversy over exactly what that looks like. And there's nothing that people, I think, have more full trust in than the base Bitcoin layer itself, which is when we get into ordinals.
See, the way Elizabeth explains, I understand because you just have a way of explaining it that is not so technical, and I completely understand this. And yes, I am going to take us into ordinals because there are two terms here that I would like for you to break down for us, like the 101 college course, and you're the professor, and that's ordinals and inscriptions. Can you explain what they each mean and their relation to NFTs and Bitcoin for us?
Yeah, so without getting too technical, basically, ordinals enable the creation of unique digital assets, NFTs, on the Bitcoin blockchain, on the space layer. So how does this work? We're using ordinal theory, which means that you are numbering Satoshis. So Satoshis are the smallest unit of Bitcoin, monetary unit of Bitcoin. And what we're doing,
cent to a dollar, kind of, right?
Yes, that's the perfect example. Thank you. So like cents to a dollar, we're basically taking a little cent and we're inscribing data onto that cent and making it unique. And ordinal theory is like numbering those out so that they are unique. And that came about with an update that happened a few years ago on Bitcoin, and nobody really did much with that update, the Taproot update. And all of a sudden, Casey Rodomar in December of last year inscribed the first ordinal. It was what was it? It was
You better than me.
Skull. It was Digilos Mortos skull. Super interesting. I think it's kind of cool cultural. I'm not sure exactly when he went into convey with that. We'll have to do some research, but that was the first ordinal. And yeah, they've really been picking up ever since then. I mean, it's been so exciting to see just the exponential growth in the ecosystem thanks to ordinals.
That's crazy. So, I mean, in the case of ordinals and inscriptions, I mean, you explain it so well, because essentially what we're doing here is we're authenticating digital assets on Satoshis, which, as you mentioned, are the smallest unit on Bitcoin, correct? So we're putting that music piece or that photo or that art piece, you can actually now anchor it to Satoshis.
Yes, exactly. No, it's like, it's mind-blowing.
It's so mind-blowing.
Yeah. Have you inscribed anything? I'm just curious. Did you mess around with it yet?
No, I haven't. I mean, this is honestly the very first conversation outside of what I have researched on my own. This is the very first conversation I'm having with someone about it. And I have so many questions because I do want, and we'll get into this, I do want to know, I own NFTs in Decentraland, but I would love to transfer them over. But don't go in there yet, because I do want to ask you about artists and how some people are transferring over. What is the difference then between Bitcoin and Ethereum ordinal inscriptions? Why one over the other? If I'm on Ethereum, why would I want to consider Bitcoin?
Sure. I mean, I think so many people see Bitcoin as being like home base, right? This is like the most time tested, secure, immutable ledger out there, and it's what the corporate world trusts most as well. And so being able to have NFTs on Bitcoin, I mean, I think people are really seeing this as potentially even holding higher value than Ethereum Bitcoin NFTs for that reason.
And it's also forever, right? And there's only limited Bitcoin in the world.
Exactly. I mean, it's something that is immutable. It will stay there forever and ever. Amen.
Yeah.
They're here to stay,
Yeah.
and yeah, it's really really interesting. But with that said, it does come with some challenges. For example, one of the reasons why most people went over to other blockchains is things like speed, infrastructure, which we're building out at Xverse, and then we can talk more about that later. But also the scalability issues, which is kind of ties back to what I was talking about earlier in regards to layer twos. Currently, the growth on with Ordinals has been so exponential that there's been a lot of blockchain congestion, and things are a bit, the fees are a lot higher, and so some people are a bit irritated about that. And so we're going to need to be forced to look into
Layer two for Bitcoin.
Yes, and that's something
Bitcoin layer 2 coming up.
Yeah, exactly. That's something we're really excited about. I mean, with the, you probably maybe heard of Lightning,
Yeah.
payments. So that's something we're looking into as well. Yes, faster and smoother and more more affordable for artists and creators.
Does this give Bitcoin a new utility, or is utility in this case something that projects still have to work on when it comes to Ordinals?
I think, sorry,
no, because you were talking about, we were talking about artists, and I know, we can put art, we can anchor it to Bitcoin and use it in that way. But what happens to utility? Does this mean utility for Ordinals at all, or is that per project based that they have to attach a utility to that art?
Yeah, it's really interesting you say that, because we could also get into the BRC20 token stuff as well. But real quick, in regards to utility, I mean, I would say it's like, it is like an NFT, like, and it's up to projects themselves, like whoever's inscribing that, to market it and proclaim value to it in a way that they are going to promise, with that mint that they're creating. So it really is up to the responsibility of that project. With that said, I mean, there's also like the store value of the art itself. If an artist is putting their prized work, fine art, which we have seen on that I would argue to say is going to lend more value to that Satoshi. It's not going to just be a simple Satoshi anymore. Now it has added art, added utility in that way. And so it is, and depending on how much people value it, it will have that added value and added utility.
Yeah. And I'm even thinking gaming too. Couldn't gaming kind of join forces with Ordinals?
I do think there's some potential out there. We actually did a collaborative event with Ords Games. So I'm myself not so familiar with the protocol at the moment, but I do see GameFi definitely developing around this. People leveraging Ordinals in a similar way that we have leveraged NFTs on other blockchains for games.
It's kind of like sky is the limit, because as we talk about what else we can anchor on the Bitcoin blockchain, my mind is just going like, what about gaming? What about metaverse? What about so there's just so much. It's kind of like we're starting fresh, right? We did this whole thing with Ethereum and now we're doing it with Bitcoin. So sorry if I'm asking too many questions there, but as you were explaining the features and capabilities, I was also thinking about investors, collectors, and as you mentioned, artists. Talk to us about some of the benefits that this can have for artists and investors and collectors, and maybe even some challenges, because I'm assuming once certain artists, especially those who are Bitcoin maxis, found out about there is such a thing, they would want to transfer over, right? What are some of the benefits for them?
Kind of touching on this earlier, some of the main benefits are the value of the Bitcoin blockchain itself as being the most trusted, decentralized, immutable, secure Bitcoin layer out there, protocol out there. And that's just so important in regards to the value for people's projects. And so we're seeing some of the biggest brands in the NFT world come to Bitcoin for Ordinals. We're talking like marketplaces like Magic Eden, projects like Yuga Labs with their 12-fold auction, DGods, and all of these people using Xverse, our wallet, as the gateway to be able to list and trade and swap and interact and mint these ordinals. It's really exciting. Even luxury brands, we're seeing a lot of luxury brands like Bugatti start to dabble in ordinals. Yes. And once fully minted, their project, their collection is said to become the first blue chip NFTs on Bitcoin. So yeah,
wow. And
yeah.
that's what's really unique about it, because you want to be the first, right? This is another opportunity for you to be the first. So I'm sure brands are taking advantage of that.
Yeah, definitely. We've been first to ship basically all the features at Xverse, and that's something that's so important to us because it wasn't initially on our roadmap. Yeah. But going back to, you were asking about kind of the reaction of people in the communities, and I will say there was definitely a lot of pushback with ordinals at first, especially from these maxi purists.
Ethereum maxis.
Well, actually, I feel like it's the Ethereum people that have been like the most welcoming and supportive.
Good.
And they've been like, quote unquote, orange pilling themselves and coming to Bitcoin and like, what is this all about? And seeing Bitcoin value more and more and getting more excited about it and wanting to be involved. There's actually a segment of Bitcoiners called the Maxis, where there's actually kind of this tension. It's become this controversial tension because they don't want the congestion on the blockchain. They don't want to have monkey JPEGs. They only want to be using Bitcoin as the sound money layer. And so there was a huge debate happening at Bitcoin Miami 2023. There was a huge debate. I was just there with a project called Taproot Wizards up on stage, and some maximalists just kind of like going to bat over, should we be using Bitcoin in this way? And the fact is that Bitcoin is permissionless. Anybody can use it the way they want. The protocol allows this to happen. I do believe that that Bitcoin, we're meant to have fun with it. We're meant to enjoy it. We're meant to scale it to 1 billion users. And if we don't allow development like ordinals to happen, how are we going to expect this mass adoption to occur? And if we don't force ourselves to face the infrastructure issues at hand, like scalability solutions, how are we going to grow and make that happen? So it's really exciting to see how ordinals are shifting that narrative, bringing a whole new wave of talent and users and artists and investors back to the space. And that's just something that's so needed, because we do, it's also been really great, already being billion on Xverse, just to have that that sense of endorsement that, hey, what you're doing is right, what you're doing makes sense. And we have the conviction to build on what is the most secure and decentralized layer.
Are we making Bitcoin transactional? Is that what I'm hearing?
We're definitely making it much easier to transact. Yes, it's on our roadmap. Lightning integration. I mean, it's already possible, of course, but it's not as fast as we would like it to be. So
of course,
a bit more complicated than just going out and buying your coffee. Although that is, there are some ways to do that currently with Lightning, but we're going to make that experience so smooth very soon.
When I explain Bitcoin versus Ethereum to people, I always say, think of Bitcoin as the digital gold, right? For Gen Z, that's the digital gold. And then think of Ethereum as the world's transactional computer, where we can build layers upon layers of dApps or applications on that, because to this day, we didn't think that we could do that on Bitcoin, but here we are. And that's going to be absolutely revolutionary. And I can't imagine the doors that will open. But I want to ask you, I would assume gas fees on doing something like that is high, right? What are the gas fees right now, looking at if I was looking to transfer some of those NFTs over and anchor them to Bitcoin blockchain?
Yeah, so at the moment, we don't have a direct way to be able to transfer like Ethereum NFTs to Bitcoin ordinals, as or turn them into ordinals, if that makes sense. I I wouldn't be surprised if there's a way eventually to somehow make that happen. But yeah, you're right. The gas fees are really high, and we definitely need to find a way to make that come down, but that's just kind of the growing pains of building out the ecosystem. And it's good. It's good. It's incentivized the miners. Miners are happy. They're getting
Yeah, I can imagine.
they're happy. And we're happy too. Actually, I wanted to mention Xverse. We were at Paris Blockchain Week a few months ago now, and we actually won the startup competition there out of 700 startups. And I believe we were the first Bitcoin project ever to win that startup competition. So
yes,
yeah, right.
And you know why? Because, and I have to tell you, because speaking of challenges, I know that your team at Xverse, and goes to exactly what you just brought up about being a startup that's solving problems. Your team at Xverse just recently built a wallet solution that supports Ordinals. I actually listened to the story that inspired building this wallet solution by one of your devs, who said he was sitting at Starbucks trying to get like his wallet set up or something with Ordinals, and it was so complicated that it inspired him to go create a simpler solution. That's exactly why you guys got the startup award.
I mean, honestly, it's so desperately needed. Most big wallets right now are optimized for devs and engineers, and we really need something that's ready for mass adoption, just everyday use. To have as a mobile app, to have on desktop as a browser extension, to have something that anybody can open up and like you can explain it to your mom and they can use it, and it's not intimidating. And it's just like, I believe it's the company, is it Apple or Google, but basically their products, if they're so simple, you don't even need to have instructions when they're shipped to you. That's how simple.
Both.
Yeah, that's basically our goal, right? Is like to make it so easy. You don't even have to have instructions. You can just onboard yourself and get started and become that Web3 guru you want to be. So that's definitely what we want to empower people with, is this, ability to get themselves onboarded and have a really smooth user experience, even with new technology. So we're not only just user friendly, but we're also like first to ship. And so, we can enable people to be, first to market in these different ways too.
Yeah. And I always say, whenever we get to a point where all you do is click, 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 that's when we get mass adoption, right? And we're still very early to click, click, click. I mean, come on, we're just now figuring out we can build things on Bitcoin.
Right. Oh yeah. I was about to say, what better way than with art, right?
Yeah.
I think is such a powerful way to enact change. We've seen it throughout history. And so to see art and artists leading this movement for what was perceived initially to be only sound money layer, you get gold, now we're seeing so many use cases. We're seeing layers, we're seeing DeFi, we're seeing all these builders and talent come to Bitcoin. And it's just phenomenal to see that. So it's good to have these other chains too. It's good that we've been experimenting, using and trying things, and but it's kind of like a homecoming moment to see people come to Bitcoin and come back to Bitcoin.
Yeah. And at the end of the day, it's too early to be competitive. I think where we will see advancement is when everyone kind of works together, because essentially when I look 10 years from now, I see multiple chains where then they're bridges, right? And the interoperability where we can move assets from one chain to another and build upon these layers. But we're still ways from that. It's just really exciting to be a part of it and watch it evolve. But I want to bring us back to Xverse, because I want you to talk to our viewers who are maybe they're new to Bitcoin, or maybe they're coming from the Ethereum blockchain and they might not have the technical knowledge or the understanding, but they're excited and they want to start somewhere. What is the process with Xverse for people to get in on Ordinals?
First of all, I have to say I'm happy to point the listeners today to so many different resources we have, so they can like visually walk through the process. With that said, it is quite easy, so don't be intimidated. And right now, I think maybe it's best if I just focus on the solutions rather than the previous challenges we were facing. But basically what Xverse is giving you is two separate addresses. So if you remember Ordinals, they're on Satoshis, these small units of Bitcoin, which is a form of Bitcoin payment. And there was a lot of confusion at first when people were minting Ordinals, because they were thinking about, I create this Ordinal, so it's like an NFT, right? But it's not. It's actually still a Satoshi, and they were accidentally sending away their precious NFTs as Bitcoin payments. So the first thing we had to do was go, wait a second, we need two separate addresses, one for Bitcoin payments, one for Ordinals, and give people the ability to hold and mint their Ordinals, inscribe their Ordinals in that way. The other, I would say, is efficiency and speed. Before, people were using like nodes and these, heavy dev wallets and marketplaces. And now with the current marketplaces like Gamma and Magic Eden, these are probably the most prominent Ordinal marketplaces out there at the moment. And with Xverse, people can inscribe an Ordinal, mint this NFT within a matter of seconds, literally less than a minute. Wow. It's so cool. And also Xverse has a beautiful gallery, so you can actually view your Ordinals, and rather than these UTXO scripts, you can view your inscriptions, whether it's text or a video, or it would have to be a very small video, or JPEGs in this beautiful gallery. You can transfer them, you can swap them.
Wow. So you can actually, just like when I buy an NFT and it gets airdropped into my MetaMask, I can actually see my photo or art or whatever it is, NFT that I bought, that is anchored on the Bitcoin blockchain in my Xverse wallet, right?
Yep. It's that easy.
I don't think people understand how revolutionary it is. Congrats to you guys and your team, because that's innovation right there. We haven't been able to do that. So for Xverse to be able to build that out that quickly, that's your team.
Definitely lost some sleep during the week, and definitely some weekends to make it happen. Actually, I was in Brazil at the moment, and was planning to take some time off. And actually, also a lot of our team, it was kind of a quiet time until Ordinals just like hyped up. So we were initially thinking of taking some vacation, and we shifted gears.
No vacations. Everybody's in their hotel room coding.
Yep. We were all heads down, just building and trying to get the word out, educating, and just so excited to see the growth.
Wow, this is so exciting to be a part of this evolution and building Web3. Time flies with you, Elizabeth, because I love our conversation. But as we start to close here, I do want to know what excites you about Bitcoin NFTs, particularly when it comes to their use cases in the future, say like, I don't know, 5-10 years from now.
Well, I think probably one of the biggest things is just added utility to Bitcoin. It's no longer just where we're storing our wealth like gold. Now we're able to store data, and that's huge. That's huge for the ecosystem. And I kind of see this as having a flywheel effect. So with Ordinals comes more builders, comes more brands and institutions and talent and investors, and this just kind of leads to one thing to the next. And ultimately, we hope to see mass adoption. And we're already seeing that in different parts of the world, people just like flooding in for Ordinals, also for these BRC20 tokens, which are possible thanks to Ordinals. So it's just really phenomenal and exciting to see this mass adoption occurring for Bitcoin, and this renaissance moment for the ecosystem. We're really shifting that narrative from just sound money to like adoption. And that's probably what excites me most. More technically, we're also going to be shipping hardware wallet support very soon. That's a little alpha there. In fact, by the time this goes out, it might already be out there.
Nice.
There's just like so many exciting features that we're continuing to build out, and just also really incredible to see all the new communities. I mean, people are so hyped. Definitely check out some projects like On-Chain Monkey and D-Gods and Taproot Wizards. I mean, we're making Bitcoin fun, and I feel like you guys have all been having fun over on Ethereum. We want to
Hey, Bitcoin was always the like what I don't want to say grandmother. It was the wise,
yeah,
you know, the one that had the wisdom. Okay, and then Ethereum was the rebel.
like the geeks in the corner, the lunchroom, just kind of like geeking out, doing their thing, and it's like, okay, now we want to like, you know, join the cool kids table.
Yeah, no, listen, Bitcoin was always cool and wise, right? Ethereum was just went all over the place. We're gonna just wreck the world, build the next internet. And no, but it's really exciting. This is an exciting time for Bitcoin. And I do think about maybe Ordinals will start the next bull market. What do you think? Bull run? Bitcoin? Ordinals?
I'd be bullish.
Yes.
We'll see. I mean, especially with the institutional adoption, it's quite a possibility and fascinating to see the transactions. I mean, even for Bitcoin versus other blockchains, it's just amazing to see the positive direction that's going. So we're really excited.
This is really exciting. And I think it's very exciting for you guys at Xverse. It's just, I am very proud of you and your team for the advancements that you guys are making. And I'm sure you wake up every day and you're like, oh my gosh, I am part of such a great team that's making history. So all eyes on you guys, no pressure, but so far, very cool, very amazing.
Yeah, we're thrilled. We're thrilled to be just supporting the ecosystem in this way. Honestly, it's an honor, and it's just been so exciting. And we work really hard. We're a small team, but we ship, we make it happen, and we're just thrilled to support the ecosystem in this way.
That's how it starts. It all starts with 5, and then it turns into 500, then it's 5,000. Be careful what you wish for.
I know. Our questions and the DMs are rolling in, but
Slacks probably getting bigger and bigger. Yeah, exactly. Elizabeth, where can people follow you, learn about Ordinals, especially taking the first step with setting up their Xverse wallet, maybe?
Sure. Definitely check out check us out on Twitter. I would say, first of all, we're always like putting out helpful threads, walking people through that process. We're retweeting influencers who are also putting out demos. We've had a lot recently, which is fantastic. So check us out on Twitter, check out our website. We have a lot of educational blogs written by yours truly, many of them. And I would also, yeah, you're welcome to follow me as well, elizabetholson.btc on Twitter. So I'm happy to be in touch with people and answer any questions, and also get you connected to our Discord, where we have a lot of really phenomenal community of Xverse enthusiasts.
Well, she doesn't know, but I listen to her on Spotify too. So if you guys want to learn about topics like crypto topics, ordinal topics, there's some great guests that she has on there as well. Is it just Spotify or Spotify and Apple?
Spotify and Apple. Yeah, that's the Own Your Crypto show. We host, basically it happens on Twitter Spaces, and then we record it. So if you want, you can be live on Twitter Spaces, ask questions, potentially even come up on stage. We love to really curate a phenomenal panel of guest thought leaders and builders in this space who are really making moves and shaping the future of the Bitcoin ecosystem. So yeah, we've been kind of putting a pause on the podcast recently just because we've been so busy, but we're definitely going to pick it up. And yeah, I would love for you to check it out. We have some really great topics, beyond Ordinals. If you're curious on other things happening on Bitcoin, this is a good way to start. So thanks for calling that out.
Well, I hope you come back, because I truly do enjoy listening to it. And I'm going to start sneaking into the spaces as well when you guys pick that back up, because you guys do share valuable knowledge there. Elizabeth, it was such a pleasure having you on the show today. Thank you so very much for sharing your insight with us on such a fascinating topic. I am sure this is not going to be the last. There will be many more to come on Ordinals.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me, Mona. I appreciate it.
Of course. And please know you can come back anytime you like. Any hot topics on Ordinals, we're here to listen and learn. So Please come back soon.
We'll be in touch. We ship fast, so you might hear from me sooner than you think.
Amazing. I can't wait. All right, guys, that's all the time we have for today. I hope you guys enjoyed this conversation as much as I did. We'll be back again next week with more hot topics in the metaverse. Until then, I'm your host, Meta Mona. Stay well.